If only 40% of US employees are using AI, but 77% of them are doing automation, what does that tell you?
There's a very good chance that Peter is sitting in a piazza in Italy drinking red wine.
People come to our events and they don't know anything about AI, so they're just there to learn. And it's like super cool because they're trying to listen.
Hi, Talia.
Mr. Gleason, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And hi, everyone. Welcome to Call Me Data. As you have noticed by now, I think Peter is not with us today. We have Talia Tomarchio here. She has been a guest host previously, so I'm really glad to have you back. For those of you who don't know Talia, she's an AI consultant working at Accenture. She has a lot of experience as both a product and a project portfolio manager for AI implementations. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is she's been very active in an organization called Philly AI Connect. So thank you again, Talia, for being here.
Should we stop for one moment and talk about where's Peter?
Let's talk about where is Peter. So I was gonna make it sound like, Peter was like on some super secret mission working hard. But the truth is, at the time we're filming this, there's a very good chance that Peter is sitting in a piazza in Italy drinking red wine. Doesn't seem very fair, does it?
Oh, absolutely not. We should send some AI agents to go get him and bring him back.
Exactly.
Bring some wine as
Peter,
well.
yeah, Peter, if you're listening to this, have some wine for us and bring us a bottle.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, David, for having me again. I'm so happy to be on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, let's do a couple of things. I want to hear about Philly AI Connect. Well, I know a little bit about it, but I'm going to know a lot more by the end of our conversation. But, first, let's chat about an interesting article. We were talking a little bit ago about, some research that was issued, about a week ago, I think. And it was Anthropic. They did the latest version of their economic index. And it's a report that they issue where they look at, the kinds of activities that are happening in the AI space, and they draw some conclusions about the economic impact of it. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. So let's take a talk. Let's take a look at that even.
Anthropic, I know that Anthropic came out with a few of these index reports, right? So this is the latest one?
Yeah, I think this is the latest. It was published on September 15 of 2025. So,
Okay.
this is the latest.
This was last week. What did they talk about?
So it was really interesting because they were saying something that, maybe strikes me as a bit obvious, but, I'm glad to see them collecting data about it. And that's that, companies were largely starting to move beyond generative AI powered chat pilots into what they call system level automation. I'll just call it more generally. They're doing embedded AI, right? They're using AI as part of automated processes and application systems, which is something we've all been talking about for a long time, which is there's not a whole lot of massive value unlock just by giving people in your company access to chatbots that have knowledge about your company. I mean, there's clearly some value.
Of course, but first you have to get them onboarded. They have to learn how to use it. They have to go through like maybe if there's a security group, but you can't just unleash all these things and then think that your employees are going to understand how to use them, right? There has to be like a level of hand holding, right? And then obviously like the adoption, but
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting. Like when you've worked on rollouts of chatbot type things, I mean, do you view that as like a stepping stone to these other types of AI implementations?
um chatbots are, yes, the stepping stone because they're the easiest and most common, but I think we're in the next phase of we're building out certain AI implementations and agents and pilots for specific teams, right? And those teams could be ranging from 5 to 50 like team members, but they're only fixing that team's workflow. They're not disrupting the entire workflow of like an org or department or something like that. And I think that's kind of bringing back to what you were saying before with Anthropic and their report of these systematic things. Wow, I can't say that word.
Systematic, systemic, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think That makes sense to me. It makes sense that people go from a generic chatbot that they roll out to the whole company to maybe more tailored solutions that are tailored for like a department or a team or a work group. And I guess the implication, I mean, tell me if this is what you've experienced, but like, it sounds like the implication of that is those more tailored, more focused chatbots have to also then be embedded with some additional knowledge specific to that team or that organization.
Yes. And I think it just depends on what org and what enterprise it is, right? They all kind of
Okay.
usually the same background. We've built stuff, in at my job, and we took a step back and we were like, should we build this with OpenAI or should we build this with Copilot Studio? Should we, and just try to like see like what's the best architecture for reporting and embedding things and making sure that they're compatible. Um, I feel like I just said that
Interesting.
wrong.
So when
The
you're,
goal is a
I'm
word, right?
curious.
I hope so. Okay, sorry.
No, I'm curious when you're doing that. You said it's the best architecture. So are you basing that decision on more than just the model itself? Are you looking at sort of the tools and capabilities that surround the model for like how you bring additional context in or how you control queries and things like that?
Like for example, Copilot Studio, if you use Copilot Studio to build some sort of chatbot or interactive tool or AI solution, it comes with embedded reporting that you could just pull. So it just depends on what's the best solution. Like, does OpenAI have the best like backend for brainstorming? Like, I guess it depends on what kind of chatbot you're trying to build, right? And which one has the strongest capabilities. And what, like, I guess that's
Yeah.
also your goal. Yeah.
No, that totally makes sense. I mean, something Peter and I've talked about several times is like it almost is a losing game to try to keep track of whose underlying foundation model is the best on any given day because, they're evolving so quickly.
Race.
But right. But what seems to be, at least to me, more of an interesting differentiator is those services that companies wrap around those models, right? The ability to integrate, in the case of Copilot, the ability to integrate with some of the Microsoft Office components or the Microsoft Graph, or in the case of Claude, the way that they do code generation or integrate with other tools on your desktop. So it's kind of cool because there's the power of the model, but then there's the power of how that model talks to the things around it that can make a difference.
It's like each of them do something, one thing really, really well. And there's not one solution that does everything really, really well. And that goes with everything in life, right? And I'm not like hating on any type of AI startup or back end or solution. I'm just saying that usually they do one thing really, really well. But then that's where agents come in and they could talk to each other and then build like a larger, so.
Yeah. So I want to talk more about that. But just to cover up some of the basics too on this, study that Anthropic did, and again, they based it just so people aren't worried that your model providers is spying on you. They based it on some anonymized user data and API call patterns and things like that. So, they have been gone to great lengths to say that they're not capturing and storing all of your interactions with the models. They're just basing this on some anonymized data. But it said that, I know a couple of things. I mean, I'd love your reaction to this, Tally. The first sort of factoid they released was that 40% of employees in the US are using AI regularly at work. How does that 40% number strike you? Because I had feelings about that.
Um, I'm going to also follow up with another statistic that hit me when I read this, because it helps to see like the larger view, because you only say, okay, 40% of people are using it, but are they only using a chatbot or are they using like a team specific solution? Right. So the other statistic that I saw from here was that 77% of enterprise API calls were automation based. And I am big automation girl. Like I love to automate mundane tasks. I like to try to focus more on the strategy and how do you implement faster and build faster. If only 40% of US employees are using AI, but 77% of them are doing automation, what does that tell you?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I also wonder about the 40% metric. As you said, we don't really know whether that's only capturing chat usage. And it's based on Anthropic's data. And, there was another report that came out a couple of months ago that I always found amusing, which is, some number is in the 60+% range of people, admitted that they were using unauthorized AI tools at work. So, the other form of that is 40% of people are using Anthropic, and a larger percentage, unknowable percentage of people are also using other tools because, it goes back to what you were saying is sometimes there's different tools for different jobs. And if you are in an organization that offers you a choice of one tool, you may be going rogue a little bit and using other tools to do some of your work.
So that's where the real transformation is when like an enterprise or a company looks at all of their business functions, right? Sees all of the different processes, what departments talk to each other, and then disrupts that entire workflow, right? I don't think we're there yet, right? Gen AI has only been out for 2 years. But at some point, AI is not going to take your job. It's going to automate some of your steps in the process. It's going to make you work more efficiently. But again, there's that gap. When you say 40%, that other 60% of people are scared and they have fear. And and obviously we've talked about this before, right? Like the AI adoption is not being fearful. But I also want to make a point that there's something that not a lot of people have been talking about is AI, is AI enabled with automation, right? A lot of people don't realize that they intermix a lot, and that's also how you disrupt like a workflow or whatever. Because right now, those 40% of those people that are using AI are using a co-pilot, right?
Right.
They're
Right.
That's just, it's kind of like their friend. They're asking them to look at a report, do some analysis. AI solutions are not just a co-pilot or a chatbot, right?
Right. And that 77% that you mentioned, right? The 77% of the API calls made to the Anthropic models were to do automation type jobs. That tells the story of what you just said. And I think if you're a business leader listening to this, the key message in here, the loud and clear message is you can't roll out what I'll call personal productivity tool style AI and expect to see these big productivity and efficiency gains that companies talk about in the press, right? You're going to get small single digit gains, but the real benefits are when you do exactly what you just said, Talia. When you take a business process, you disrupt it, you rebuild it around AI, and you use AI as an engine, as a driver to automate processes and connect different parts of your organization together. That's where the real payoff comes. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's a longer process, right? But a lot of business owners, enterprise, they forget about change management, right? They built this cool thing and they're like, oh my God, look at what I did. Look at what I built. And then it just kind of dies on the vine, but it's so good. But a lot of people forget about that, right? So you
Yeah.
either have to work in the beginning, kind of what you were saying, like to the business owners, and say, let me work with your team so you get like early adoption and they could, those teams tell you what their business processes are, they get excited, and then you rebuild it with them, or you build a solution and then you do change management, and that's how you get more usage. And I think a lot of people forget about KPIs and metrics and okay, well, what is the payoff for Gen AI? Like,
So it's funny though. I agree with what you're saying, and I blame the AI industrial complex for this. And what I mean by that is, if you look at what all of the model developers and other hyperscalers and other companies are doing, they're still, to some degree, they're still spinning the story that this is easy. It's a layup and you should just enable the tools, sign up for the services, roll them out to your company, and magic will happen and people will suddenly be more efficient and the benefits will start pouring in. And they're not emphasizing the really important part of the story that you just mentioned, Talia, around that change management and around the strategy and around rebuilding business processes. Because frankly, that stuff's hard and it takes time, and it doesn't play well with the story of just buy my magic widget and you'll have, like, billions of dollars of savings knocking down
Right.
your door. Yeah.
Should we talk a little bit about what All In on Data does?
Um, yeah, I mean, we can talk about that. It's I don't like talking about myself, but but that's fair enough. That's what we do. I mean, our goal and sort of one of my core beliefs in this is there is not really an easy button. AI is an amazingly powerful tool, but you have to have a strategy that encompasses both your business strategy and how you're going to redefine business processes, and a data and technology strategy, how you're going to get the right data. And it's sort of hard work. It's not impossible. It's absolutely worth doing, but it requires a set of skills that include things like change management and strategy and execution and data engineering and a whole list of other things beyond just signing up for your model provider of choice.
I
So
love what you guys are doing. I think it's very different and definitely disruptive to that whole industry.
it's tremendously fun. It's gratifying, I think, in a way. I mean, there's something really neat about being able to go in and help demystify what's happening in AI. And our target market are the people who believe that it's worth their time as business leaders or technology leaders to understand how this tool works. Now, they don't necessarily have to be in the technical weeds of it, but I connect with people who believe me when I tell them that this is such a transformational technology. It's such a powerful tool that it's worth their time to spend a few hours understanding a little bit more about how it works, because it makes them better able to predict what AI is going to do and better able to think about how to apply it to their business. If you want the easy button, I'm the wrong person to talk to, because I refuse to sell you that fictional easy button.
The easy button never works, so it's
No, nope,
right. I feel like when
nope, it
you're
never
a business
does.
owner and a business leader and you're just writing out requirements and, spitting them out and not fully understanding what's happening, that's when a lot of things kind of go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, we should have a conversation sometime, maybe for a future podcast. We should talk about like, war stories of the unintended consequences and the things that go a little bit crazy when people deploy AI, because things can go very wrong very quickly if you're not on top of this.
All right, we'll do
Um,
it like a AI after hours with me, you, and Peter, and we'll drink
and
some wine
Peter,
and talk about our war stories.
okay. Hopefully it'll be wine that Peter brings us from Italy. Hint, hint, Peter. Um, and yeah, that'll be good. But enough about me, Talia. Let's also talk about you, because one of the things I did want to get caught up with you on is the work that you're doing with Philly AI Connect. So um, let's start from the top, because we have people hopefully listening to this from around the country, if not the world. So what is Philly AI Connect?
So, Philly AI Connect is a grassroots ecosystem that we are building in Philadelphia, for AI enthusiasts, AI founders, VCs, people who don't know anything about AI or they're builders, and just kind of creating a community, right? There, Philly has such great talent and very, very smart people here. But I want to create that ecosystem that nurtures it so they don't leave, right? And they don't go to San Francisco and they don't, you know, I I think our community is there and I'm hopefully growing it alongside with my two co-founders. Um, but yeah, I'm super excited about it. Or even just getting people to talk about AI, right? Um, you're coming to
That's
one
neat.
of our events, aren't you? I'm so excited.
Yeah. Yeah. So Peter and I have been to one or two of your events previously. We found them really interesting and as you said, there are some really sharp people working on AI in Philly, and it was nice to see that. So, but let's talk about for a minute about the event that we're coming to. Uh,
Sure. Okay.
yeah,
And I'm probably going to re-say that if you guys don't mind. So you're coming to our event at the end of the month, right?
we are. We're looking forward to it. Peter and I have been to a couple of other Philly AI Connect events and found them to be really great events. And we really enjoyed meeting some of the people doing some really interesting work in AI. But we are coming to see you again and participate in your event on September 30th. Tell us about that.
So our theme this quarter is the agentic shift. Um, no coincidence or anything. Um,
Timely. Yeah.
so it's from, the agentic shift from tool to teammate. We are going to have, we're doing it a little bit different than last time. So we're going to have one panel and then we're going to have you and Peter come in and do like a cool demo on all in on data. But the idea is to have a discussion on what is agentic. Everyone's talking about what agents are. They don't really know what it means. What are the tools you need to build it, how to build it, and how is it disrupting, workforces, workflows, and things like that. Just opening up the discussion because it is such a buzzword right now. And everyone's like, oh, I'm building an agent, but they are actually building an AI solution, right? So there's definitely a difference between building an agent, building an agentic system or a multi-agentic system, right? And even like automation and AI. So I think that there has to just be a discussion of like, what is it? How do we build it? What do we do with it? How does it help? Um, and again, that like very large gap, like people come to our events and they don't know anything about AI. So they're just there to learn. And it's like super cool because they're trying to listen, but the panels aren't, yes, they're a little bit technical, but they're also not technical where everyone can kind of understand and ask questions. So it's really great. It's like a nice, safe space.
Love that you're tackling that topic because I think it's a much needed conversation. As you said, everybody is claiming everything as an agent, and it's. I also find that people, when they really start to learn what a real agent is, what agentic computing really consists of, then you see the light bulb go on because they then also start to understand what that future of human and AI collaboration starts to look like. Right. Like when you hear people saying, oh, you'll have AI teammates, that sounds threatening. That sounds like we're going to fire half your team and replace them with robots. And that's not what they're saying. But when you start to hear how real agentic computing is shaping up, then you start to realize, oh, now I understand how I could have a set of agents helping me with some of the work I'm doing. Yeah, so I'm super glad to hear that that's the topic that you're tackling. It's great.
It's very fitting for you guys to come.
It's one of our favorite
You're,
topics.
you're our agentic SMEs over here. But it's kind of like what I was talking to you about before about like the hand holding. I feel like I want to hand hold the entire city of Philadelphia. And I'm like, let me walk you through how to do this agent stuff, even though you might not know it. And then it goes off. They're like, oh, I'm not scared anymore. What if it's someone who's working at a tech company and then they like go into work the next day and they're more open with using AI at work. Like that is what I want to do, right? Like obviously bring the conversation and get more people to talking about things and showcasing some of the cool shit that they're building. But if someone comes to one of the events and they're like, "Oh my God, this makes sense." And then they're like not fearful anymore and we close that, AI literacy gap, like great.
Yeah. Yeah. The ripple effect of that is you can't predict what's going to happen, right? But it could be tremendously powerful that someone goes and things get demystified. They feel a little bit more comfortable. Then that leads to them having a conversation at the virtual water cooler the next day at work. Yeah. I mean, good things happen. So if someone listening to this is in the vicinity of Philadelphia on the 30th of September 2025, can they come? Can they register? Like, is this
Yeah.
all
So
right? How do they do that?
So it's from 6 to 8:30 at Pennovation in Philadelphia. You just go to our website, phillyconnect.ai/events. You can sign up right there, and we would love to see everyone.
Awesome. Awesome. And I haven't personally been to the space that you're holding it at, but I've heard it's tremendous. I've heard it's a beautiful space. So
I'm
looking forward to
very,
that.
very grateful for our partnership with Pennovation. It's such a cool space. There's so many people just walking around, like doing things, building things, and you're like, oh my, you feel like energized when you're there.
What is Pennovation? I don't actually know.
So Pennovation is University of Penn's innovation hub. So super cool. It's very diverse. And if anyone wants to become, I think they do memberships or they do a lot of partnerships there. Super cool. Reach out to Kirsten. That's your girl. But
Awesome.
come to the event. Come see what we got. Be food, drinks. David's probably going to be doing a really fun demo of himself. Hopefully.
Oh boy.
If you guys are lucky, you'll get it. It's very cool.
No pressure. And it's, let me make sure I got this right. It was phillyconnect.ai to find the website and register.
Yes. Or you can
Fantastic.
find us on LinkedIn as well. We posted it on there.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I mean, so I'm curious. Let's talk more about Philly. So I have a first really important question. Am I allowed to refer to your city as Philly, even though I don't live there? Is that like a derogatory term or okay? Someone said to me the other day, why do you call it Philly? Shouldn't you, isn't it more respectful to call it Philadelphia? And I was like, I'm pretty sure that all my friends in Philly call it Philly, but I thought I'd ask you if I'm allowed to say that.
Of course you can. I feel like Philadelphia is too like proper.
Too formal. Yeah.
Yeah, too formal.
Yeah. Philadelphia creases its pants and wears shiny black shoes. Philly is a little bit more easygoing, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
It's
Well, I
not
like that
city
it's
slang. Don't worry.
Philly AI Connect. That's good. But let's talk about Philly. Because, when we've been to some of the events and spent time in Philly for other reasons, we've noticed what you said, which is there are quite a few companies and people doing interesting work with AI there. And it's interesting. So, I know you had shared with me that there was some recent news about Philly and its sort of growing AI ecosystem, we'll call it. Let's talk about that. And then we'll
Yeah.
talk about sort of, is that an indicator of the way the AI economy is headed? So,
For sure. So I think last year or the beginning of this year, University of Penn was one of the first colleges or Ivy Leagues in the country to have a master's degree in AI, which is very awesome and very, very forward in education, right? So when I saw that, I was like super excited. And I love that that's kind of the way that things are going now. Like when I was in college, I went to school at Rowan, it's a state school in New Jersey. We didn't have degrees just in artificial intelligence, right? I took an AI class, I took a cryptography class, and you could have a concentration, but you still got a computer science degree, right? So having a whole major dedicated to it is awesome.
that's amazing. I didn't even realize they had done it first. That's super cool.
Yeah, I think they were the
And,
first
and are
Ivy.
you seeing,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, after you, please.
No, I think they're the first Ivy League. I don't remember, but it's fine. We could just keep going.
That's a good distinction. Well, let's talk about, I mean, I think it sounds like some of that is being recognized, we'll say, in terms of investments in companies and things like that. I think you had shared with me some stats around the money being raised and whatnot. Let's talk through some of that. I think it was really fascinating.
Okay, so huge article came out, bizjournals.com. I think it came out in June. And basically, Philly just made like a huge leap in the North American startup ecosystem, right? It jumped 12 spots from last year to number 13, right? And this was the 2025 Startup Genome Report. 2024, I think the city raised $3.3 billion, which is huge for our, city. And I think it was about like 76 billion in ecosystem value. But it's just Philly is growing, right? And I think it has to do with AI. I'm assuming it has to so
Yeah, so it's really interesting because I have seen a little bit firsthand evidence that Philly is growing and there's a lot of talent there and a lot of companies doing really interesting work. So that's exciting. I wonder, is Philly an outlier, or do you think that like part of what that suggests to me is maybe the AI tech wave will be more geographically distributed than previous technical innovation waves, right? As you said earlier, part of your mission is to give people a good reason not to feel like they need to move to the Bay Area to work in AI. Um, like, do you think that we're achieving that? Do you think that we're going to see AI jobs in a wider variety of places, or do you think Philly's an anomaly?
AI jobs and AI founders, a little bit different, right? I think let's start with the founder piece. First, a lot of major companies are coming in and trying to infiltrate the startup founders in college. I think that's huge. And obviously, I was telling you before, we have a lot of great schools in the city. And we want to make sure that they stay after they graduate, right? That's first and foremost. Um, but I think just getting the communication out there, like a lot of VCs come to our events because they're like, I want to kind of meet other founders. I want to see what people are building. And at some point, it would be really amazing for Philly AI Connect to do like a startup demo day or something where everyone kind of
Oh yeah.
comes.
Oh, that would
But
be fantastic.
I think the idea is that people are coming to our events because they want to meet other founders to do investments in, and they just don't know that they're there. They just don't. There's like the lack of communication and openness, right? Because there is a lot of funding here. They just don't. They either think that it's only in New York or only in San Francisco. No, they're here. And a lot of people are just only focusing on investing in AI now. If your company is doesn't have any implementation of AI, I don't think anyone cares, which sounds horrible, but it's true because it's the only thing that's fast moving, right?
Totally. I was talking to someone who's a founder of a software product company the other day, and they were lamenting the fact that it's almost mandatory to have a whole list of AI features in your product, regardless of whether your product actually needs AI to do what it's supposed to do, because no one wants to invest in a company or a product that isn't building AI solutions. It's sort of like the e-commerce days, right? There was a period of time in which it didn't matter what you were selling. If you didn't have a website and an e-commerce storefront, or you were doing it wrong, even though very few people buy swimming pools over a website, right? As an example, like there's some businesses that just don't need to be sold over the web. And there's legitimately some software products that aren't going to benefit much from embedding AI in them. But I think it's mandatory now to
Yeah.
at least do
Find something.
yeah, find something to put AI in. Put that little button with the little, magic wand icon somewhere on your tool so that it looks like you've got AI in it.
Oh my gosh, I know what you're talking about.
Right? Like you see it everywhere. And it's like some cabal of people met behind the scenes and agreed that everyone would use almost the same icon to mean AI in every tool. It's like, why does it all look the same? So, but it's really interesting. So part of what I wonder sometimes around, the, the way talent is migrating too, you raised a really good point, which is you've got great universities in the Philadelphia area, and if the investors are looking to grab these future founders as they come out of university and sort of get them set on that path, Philadelphia is a great place to do it. Oh, sorry, I called it Philadelphia. I didn't mean to be so formal. Philly is a good place to do it.
This is not
Um,
a podcast.
no, you're right. I should keep it lowbrow. And then, but the other thing that's really interesting is this is also the first, uh, say, tech wave that has happened post COVID, when people have been completely rethinking the relationship between your job and where you live, right? Like, how many companies now have founders that live in one city and workers that live in a whole variety of other locations? That's it's not unusual at all, especially for a startup.
Startup is definitely different and more uh like gritty. I guess that's it's a Philly word. Right. So it doesn't really matter as long as you're getting the work done and you kind of are moving fast and you're iterating and you're going through. Enterprise is like I work in enterprise, right? So I work from Philadelphia and my entire team is like spread across everywhere, right? Seattle, Pittsburgh, DC, but we all get the work done and we all meet virtually online. But I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I'm thinking if I can. Hold on. But I know that a lot of larger companies now are asking them to return to office 3 days a week.
Yes. Yes. 3 or 4 or 5. Here in New York, a lot of the banks are moving to 5 days in the office with very few exceptions. And um, I look, my hot take on that is I think that's a mistake. I think in the near term they have enough buying power, enough hiring power that they can ask and people will comply. But I think in the long term, it's going to hurt their ability to attract new talent because if many other companies out there are offering less than 5 days a week in the office and you're demanding five, I'm afraid you're going to cut yourself off from a large part of the addressable target market of talent.
I think
But
it just depends. It depends on
yeah,
what where you are in life, but I also think it depends on what kind of company you're working for. Like, do you think that more people are going to be productive in the office, or do you think that they're going to be more productive if you automate half their job? I think the latter one.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. Good point. You could, if you're placing your bets, I would place my money on automating people's jobs and helping them be more productive that way, not counting badge swipes and turnstile entries. Um, and the truth is, like, as you have experienced, people are able to connect and collaborate and work effectively over a lot of different mediums, including face to face or virtually. It really comes down to the people, not where they're sitting, I think. I've spent plenty of time in offices and thought to myself most of those days, oh, I could be doing this so much more effectively from home because there's a portion of your week or your month where you are really interacting. You're really meeting with people. And some of that can't be replaced by virtual communication. Like there is a value to face, but it would be a complete fallacy to say that I spend 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week in high quality face to face interaction with other people. That just isn't the way it works. So if I can arrange my days so that I spend, a certain number of days a month concentrating my face-to-face interactions with people and then spend the remaining days doing other types of work, that works for me.
Well, it depends on what kind of job you have, right?
It does.
So a
It
lot of
does.
these return to offices are, yes, making everyone go back, but maybe it depends on your role or your manager or what type of, work. Like your work style is, okay, I'd rather be at home, right? But other people's work style, like for example, I love working from home, but once or twice a year we go and we meet up at an offsite, and it's so nice to be with everyone. And it's like you feel that like, oh my gosh, this team, like you're a real person, right? You're not an AI person, an AI bot. But it's also really nice to meet up and like whiteboard together and have dinners. And so there's definitely like a healthy balance between the two, but kind of what you were saying of I'd rather just make my own schedule. I use something called Motion. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I haven't. What is that?
So it basically integrates all of your calendars. So like let's say that you have like all like you have a bunch of different like work calendars, right? And then it's a task manager. So you create like, a project or a task or whatever, and it'll look at your calendar. Let's say you have a task that's due Friday or something. You have to like file your taxes or I don't know, something. And you'll pick it up into either like 15-minute increments or like an hour, and it's like hard deadline, not hard deadline. It will slot your tasks by automate, like it'll intelligently look at your calendar. Okay, well this is all the meetings David has today. He has to do this thing by Friday. Okay, he can either do it Tuesday or Wednesday. And you like check off your tasks. And if you don't get to it, it rearranges your calendar of tasks the next day. So you don't have to think about it.
Oh, that's actually kind of nice. I like that. I like that
Oh
a
yeah,
lot.
it's super cool. You don't have to like think about it. You feel like you don't need an assistant. I love it.
I mean, I like that because that sounds like it's a little bit of AI that's adapting to you and like, keeping up with the fact that stuff happens, right? Like, no matter how productive you are, there's unexpected things happen during the day, and you have, phone calls that run long or meetings you didn't anticipate, and it tends to throw a wrench in your whole schedule. So I love the fact that it can fix your schedule for you.
Yes, it's definitely an AI teammate for sure. But
Nice.
I feel like it also takes a big snapshot of what your day is supposed to look like and how you can actually, like, what is your capacity? How much work can you actually get done? Like, you can even schedule like deep work. But anyway, this is not my shameless plug. I really do enjoy the tool.
No, actually, I'm glad you mentioned it because something Peter and I were talking about the other day is we actually haven't done this in a while. Once in a while, we sort of just spend some time talking about the tools we use personally, how we use them, what we use, what it's good for, what it's not good for. And we should do that again. And we'd love to have you join us and just talk through like, what do you actually do in a day and how does AI help you at a personal level? Because there's lots of tips and tricks that like, tools I don't know. And, I think people love to hear how we're applying this stuff in our real lives.
For sure, let's definitely do that.
Yeah.
Once he comes back
Um,
from gallivanting in the why
I hope at this point, I hope he's coming back. He's been gone for like a week and I'm sure he's probably sitting there right now, thinking how nice it would be to move to Italy permanently. But, so Peter, come back if you're not planning to,
we're
please
doing
do
an
come back.
RTO. Peter, you request the office.
Yeah. We're at least going to have to do an RTC, return to continent. So please at least return to the continent.
That's awesome. I have a
Yeah.
question for you.
Sure.
People are talking about agents, right? Everyone is big buzzword. So there's agents and then there's multi-agentic systems. What I've noticed in my work and my day to day and what other people are working on is they're building agents that are doing something really good for one single task and they're not being fluid. And a lot of people don't realize that you can build an agent that's more dynamic than just doing one task and then talking to another agent that's doing one task. It's actually not dynamic, but it could be, right? So, what
Yeah.
is your experience with that? And I'm very interested.
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of funny because I think the hard part is um, there is no agreed upon definition of like where the line between agentic and not agentic is. But so, I won't comment on whether that single purpose agent really qualifies as an agent, like, right? But if I go back to like a real agent, it has a whole bunch of criteria. And, number one, and maybe the most important is that you give it a goal, not a procedure. You don't tell it how to do something. You tell it the objective that you're solving for. You say, go solve this problem, complete this task, do this thing for me. And you don't tell it how to do it. And then the agent comes up with a plan. The next part of that is it monitors and executes that plan and can, to some degree, often decide when the objective is achieved. And it may decide to modify the plan based on lack of success in some of the steps of that plan. And I think the best agentic frameworks, as you're suggesting, really allow for that plan to include invoking different, more specialized agents to go off and perform different parts of that plan, right? Because that's efficient and allows some specialization and it allows multi-threading where you can have these different sub agents all running around doing different parts of the task. And there has to be this ability to negotiate back and forth between them. It's the overused example is book me a trip to San Francisco, right? And I want a hotel, a dinner reservation, a rental car, and flights. And if something's unavailable, you might have to negotiate across all the agents to see if I can shift my trip by 1 or 2 days to get the most important thing booked the way I want it to. And then agents should be able to use tools, which is the other really cool thing about that multi-agentic idea is different agents might have different repertoires of tools that they can discover and decide to use to help them do their jobs. So I think I'm probably coming down where you're landing on this, which is a real agentic solution needs to have the ability to start with one agent that creates a plan and then kick off multiple agents that do different parts of that plan. That's really how you get to the kinds of potential that we've talked about. Do you agree with that?
That's an agentic system, right? And then once you can get that in a good space, you can have them talk to each other. And that's where
Yes.
it's like craziness. I don't think we're there yet. I mean, we probably are in like, 5% of the things that are out there, but I don't know. I hope someone is listening to this and something light bulb just went off with David's explanation.
And the brilliance of it, really, to me, the brilliance of Agentic is a couple of things, right? But one of them is MCP. Why did I just forget what the M in MCP is? A model context protocol. Terrible. I shouldn't even forget these things. But that the ability for model context protocol to me means that an agent dynamically discovers tools available to it and decides what to use those tools and doesn't have to be pre-configured how to use those tools, right? Which is, think about it, that's such a more effective way to communicate between systems than a rigid API, because an API is incredibly powerful. Yes, it isolates the server from the client, for example, but like those connections are somewhat hard coded. Whereas with MCP, Model Context Protocol, these agents can literally wake up today, discover that there's a new tool available that wasn't available yesterday, and make an informed decision about whether they think that tool is the right one to use for the task they're doing today, and then use the tool. And they can use it for the first time with no pre-training on how to use it, because the MCP definition for that tool actually tells them how to use it. Right. So it's like I walk into a library and I see a book like how to use this new machine we got. And I read the book and I'm like, oh, I can use it now.
Yeah.
And my favorite example, and I was talking to someone about this the other day, just to like make it real, is I use so my tool of the day is I've been using for a long time a non-AI tool called Readwise, although it has AI embedded in it because of course it does. But Readwise is a really, really clever bookmarking and highlighting application that's available across all sorts of different platforms. So whether I'm reading on my Kindle or reading a web page or reading an email, I can highlight sections of text and I can send it to Readwise, and it aggregates all of my highlights and lets me find them and review them and read through them. And it's just great. I love it. So when I'm reading papers, I highlight sections of those papers and they all go into Readwise for my future reference. Readwise stood up an MCP server. And I activated that MCP server and hooked it up to my my Claude chat. And here's what's really cool about it. You never have to say Readwise. If I said something like, what highlights do I have about change management in the era of AI? If I happen to use the word highlights in that, because the MCP server protocol exists, the agent in the background, the Claude agent, is going to look through the tools available to it. One of them on that MCP server from Readwise is going to have a description that says that it allows you to surface highlights that the user has saved. It'll say, oh, David asked for highlights. This tool says it can do highlights. I'll try that tool. And sure enough, it uses that tool and it, under the covers, invokes an API and pulls relevant highlights back from Readwise. I think that when I show people that, it makes it very real because they're realizing that I never told it that my highlights were in Readwise. I just simply made available a list of tools that included this Readwise tool. And when I said something about highlights, it figured out on its own that it could ask Readwise for highlights.
Making the decision based upon the best decision based upon what has been given to it, right? And
yes.
I think that's probably where it gets to be scary for people, right? But when you hear examples like this, and what my example probably is like creating a newsletter, right? Having an agent go out, pull the most relevant data, organize it into like a digestible fashion, and then send the email to me. And that's what I've been doing.
All this time, I thought I was reading like these carefully handcrafted newsletters from you, and you're telling me that you've automated the whole process.
It's hybrid. It's hybrid.
Okay.
But it's cool. Like, it's not as scary as everyone thinks it is, because when you're basically telling everyone that agents are kind of thinking and making decisions on their own, but there is like, guardrails. It's not like it's going out into the world and pulling everything. It just has to be structured correctly.
Yeah, and a good point about that is that back to your point earlier about multi-agent configurations. a really good way to build some sort of safety and repeatability into a system is you give different agents or different sub-agents access to different sets of tools, right? So you're not saying, here's one omnipotent agent that knows every tool available. No, you're saying, this agent I'm going to connect to this MCP server, and that MCP server provides 10 tools that are all relevant to the same type of task. And here's a different agent that I'm going to connect that agent to a different MCP server that might have 7 or 8 tools that are all related to a different category of work. So it's a little bit less scary when you think it's really just giving collections of tools to different agents. You're not giving one agent control over the universe or your entire life or all your data or anything like that. Hopefully. Yeah. So I do have to mention I'm reading a book. I just started it this weekend, and I'm about halfway through it. And it has the terrifying name of If Anyone Builds It, Then Everyone Will Die, which is terrifying. And it's about the risks of superintelligence. So it's written by a couple of authors who are very renowned researchers in AI. They've been in the AI game for decades. And they are advancing their arguments on, why AI has the potential to, in their argument, destroy humanity. Now, I'm not going to comment until I finish the book on whether I agree with them or not. I will say that they are going to great lengths to make very well-constructed arguments. I don't know if I agree with their conclusions, but it's fascinating to see how they're building some of the arguments brick by brick. And I haven't gotten to where all the pieces come together and make their final conclusion, but it's terrifying to see things like that. And I actually found out about the book because there are ads plastered all over the subway system in New York for this book. And the ads are literally just this bright red poster with, bright like alarm red with this big bold black lettering that says, if anybody builds it, we will all die. And you're like, oh, what's that? That sounds terrifying. So I know I haven't been sleeping so well the last couple of nights, but it was effective marketing.
Yeah.
But I guess the thing that made me think of that is you're 100% right. Like, that's talking about super intelligence. It's talking about a level of AI that does not currently exist. They freely admit that. They're really projecting some time into the future. If we ever achieve super intelligence, will that be bad or good for us as humans? But I think to bring the temperature back down a bit, to your point, agents that we have today are nowhere near that. The agents that we are capable of building today are not going to go rogue and destroy us. And, I think, to your point, they can be very helpful, right?
Yes, and I want to go back to the superintelligence scary book for a sec.
Yeah.
So I have my minor in neuroscience, right? Like, I am very much obsessed with like neural networks and computational neuroscience. Very, very intriguing of how you can mimic a human brain and its neural pathways and its decision making, into an algorithm, basically, right? And you can't really get to that until you get to quantum computing. And we're not even at quantum computing yet. So it's too fast, right? It's almost like you're creating decision making based upon past like ingestion, right?
Yeah.
But once you get to super intelligence, it really just depends on who's building it. It sounds really terrible, but it's very, very powerful, right? But it's just like using ChatGPT at the very basic level. Are you using it for X or for Y? And it just depends on what is the primary use for it. And I'm not saying ChatGPT is a bad thing. I'm saying you have the power as the input and the user to get whatever output you're searching for. And it's
Yeah.
nothing to do with has nothing to do with the actual product. It depends on how you're using it.
It's like the old question, is a hammer a tool or a weapon? Right. And the answer is it very much depends on who's holding the hammer.
Well, I like the chicken or the egg one, but
Oh, what's that version?
no, it's just which one came first, the chicken or the
Oh,
egg?
I thought you were going to say, like, is AI more like a chicken or an egg? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I was like waiting for this big reveal of like some analogy I hadn't heard before.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
We should do this with
Um,
wine for sure.
I think it would. I think it would be good with wine. I know Peter will be supportive of that. Yeah, look, I think we agree that agents are misunderstood. So come to Philly AI Connect on September 30th if you want to understand them a little bit better. Um, and but they're nothing to be terrified of. But it is, I think, would you agree that's where the real power is lay, right? Like trying to get from where we are today to companies really being able to develop and implement agentic frameworks and start to harness this power in a meaningful way.
Absolutely. And again, it's what is the purpose of it? Are you trying to save the company money? Are you trying to disrupt your workflow? Are you trying to automate a piece of, your employees' day so they can be more strategic and valuable in different ways? But at the end of the day, we still need to talk about what agents are.
Yes. Yes, we do. We need to. So I think, look, I'm looking forward to being part of the conversation, next week at Philly AI Connect on what agents are. And it's, we should have a follow-up conversation of going deep into what agents are. Cause I think there's definitely a need to help demystify that for folks.
We're really excited for you and Peter to come. I am so excited to hear about what you guys are doing, what you guys are building, and to get your take on agentic solutions, right? And talk more with Peter as well. So we're so excited. I hope everyone can come, whoever's local in the city. The event is free. All Philly AI Connect events are usually free. So
Wait a
come.
minute. Who's that guy that took 20 bucks off me at the door when I came last time?
I gotta find my intern.
All right. No, look, we're looking forward to being there. Thank you. And Talia, thank you for joining the podcast again. It's always great to have you on, and thanks for sharing your thoughts,
Of
and see you
course.
next week.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe all in on data.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to us over on YouTube. And make sure to stay up to date with us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well.